I'm Dr. Robert Woodbury, and today I've been reviewing a case of a woman who had the development of obesity after undergoing a fecal transplant. And in some of the other videos we've done, we've talked about the idea of this gut flora, or the gut microflora. And that are all the good bacteria that live inside our intestines. Well, there's a disease called Clostridium difficile, and C. diff is the name of it. So if you have a C. diff infection, you can get a very bad colitis, which is inflammation of the colon. The normal treatment would be to eradicate the C. diff. They're basically a bad bacteria. And you treat them with antibiotics, and for most people that's the end of it. But for some cases it becomes protracted, so you can't get rid of it. And one of the up-and-coming ways of treating people with this intractable Clostridium difficile infection is to treat them with actually the bacteria from another person who does not have the Clostridium difficile. And the idea is to give that person a bacteria transplant, basically. So you take the bacteria out of the bowel movement of the donor and you put it into the colon of the patient who's being treated. And in this case, the woman's treatment went very well, and afterwards her Clostridium difficile resolved. But there was a really interesting thing that happened. This patient had never had any problem with obesity. And after the transplant, the woman developed obesity to a body mass index of 34. And when you looked back at the donor also was suffering from obesity, which is a very interesting concept. Now, it doesn't necessarily prove cause and effect, which we've talked about before in these videos. We have to be very careful about what causes things and what's associated. So one could explain the weight gain of the patient in other ways. Maybe there was something going on metabolically, but they had their thyroid and their cortisol labs checked and they were okay. Also, that patient did try to lose weight and went on a high protein shake diet and also did an exercise plan, and despite that still suffers from obesity. And this is a tie-in to some of the other videos we've posted, especially the one I did that's a very long seminar on the emerging concepts of obesity, where in animal studies, if you take the bacteria in an obese mouse and transplant it into another mouse, that mouse can develop obesity. So very, very interesting. In our support group we talk a lot about probiotics and certain probiotics being healthy. And I think that it is one piece in the puzzle of how we're going to deal with obesity. It's not the only one, so the temptation is to say, gosh, is there one particular bacteria that's the right bacteria to take? I get that question asked all the time in our group. Which probiotics should I take? We don't know yet. And it may be that certain people need certain ones. And what I really believe is that it's only one piece of the metabolic puzzle. But it's an important one. I'm Dr. Robert Woodbury.